Everybody, Roger here again, and today I'm going to be pumping out my uncle's boat for probably one of the last times, as we're going to be taking them out of the water. And yeah, so let's see what it's like pumping the boats for one of the last times. Here I got the pump, and I'm just gonna put it over in the hatch over here. And then I got to plug it in and it'll pump. All right. So down in the stern hatch lid here, you can see there's a little bit of water. It's all rainwater that drips through cracks in the deck. And I just put the pump in there, take the hose, throw it overboard. And this won't take much time at all. There's not a lot of water in there. I just sit here and I wait. So when I was growing up in the 80s, there was a lot of commercial fishing vessels in here. Seine boats, gill netters, trollers, you name it. And one by one, they're disappearing as commercial fishing ends along the coast of British Columbia and being replaced with tourist boats. Over there in the middle, the sea legs. I'll zoom in. A little too far. Right there, the sea legs. That is one of our boats, and we're going to be taking her out of the water as well and putting it up in my uncle's yard. And I will be videotaping the entire process as we put these boats up on dry land. And you can hear the water starting to run low. And then when it's finished pumping, I just hold it up in the air to let it drain down, and then I go unplug it. So we're clearing a path through here towards the beach at my uncle's place. On Caliva Road. And we're going to be bringing the boats up through here. As you can see, there's already a dredge spot down below there where my uncle years and years and years ago brought his old boat, the Jerry, up on dry land. And we're going to bring the boats up here onto my uncle's property. And this is where they're going to rest. In here. This log here is right at the way down to the beach here, and it's like a natural erosion barrier preventing the high tides from eating away at the road. But we might have to move it to get the boats up here. Hopefully we could put it back. And this is what it looks like on the beach out in front of my uncle's out on Caliva Road. And you're looking way off in the distance is what we call Second Point, and around that is Koltanimi or Home Point. And that island over there, again, is Kivisari or Haddington Island. And we're scrolling along, you can see the seagull going by. That's Cormorant Island. On the other side is the town of Alert Bay with Elephant Mountain on Vancouver Island in behind that. And you're looking down towards Mainell Point. This part of Mainell Point was called Poton Kallio in Finnish. And that there behind me is my brother, and he is going to be making a fire on the beach because we're going to burn some of the debris up above to make room to pull up the boats. So all this stuff piled up on the beach up above that log there, we have to get rid of in order to make room for the boats to be pulled up through here. This is what the cones look like hanging down from Sitka spruce. They hang underneath the branches. So these are last year's cones. They would have already lost their seeds, and they'll just one by one drop off from the tree. But all these new little spruce buds that you see here that I pick, those will turn into new little branchlings coming off of the main branch. And we have here our red alder, which is common on Malcasari, Malcolm Island, or on Vancouver Island along the coast of BC here. And Latin name for this is Alnus rubrans, which is a red alder here. They call it that because the buds early in the spring, it's a little late in the spring now because the leaves are coming out, but the new buds are a red color. So it gives this red look as the buds are coming. Also, when you first cut the bark, you could make a tea out of it. I've never done it myself, but the fresh bark of a young alder you can make tea of. And this stuff here we call old man's beard. And I don't know the Latin name for it, but supposedly it's antimicrobial, so you can make a tea of this if you're sick and it can help. I've never tried it either. I have to try that sometime. I'll let you know what I find out. So you can see here the darker rocks as you approach the shoreline. For those of you who don't live by the ocean, you can see the darker rocks. That's a way to it's an indicator telling you that the tide is going out. So when you see these darker wet rocks closer to the shoreline, you know the tide's going out. And in this area, as the tide goes out throughout the day, I'll show you, has been cleared long ago because this is a place where boats were pulled up. And I'll show you what that looks like once the tide goes out. And looking back down Cleaver Road, this shoreline here was called Illimanenranta, which means Illiman Shore, named after the hermit Illiman who once lived out here in the area prior to the Finnish colony of Sointala. And that dock you see coming out from Cleaver Road towards Maynell Point there, that is a fishing lodge, a local fishing lodge that exists on part of the old Holmanen farm. And if you remember from following my previous videos, Matti Holmanen was famous for writing the first history of Sointala in 1936. And that lodge now exists. It's called Sointala Lodge in modern times here. And it exists on the old Holmanen farm, at least part of it. And as you can see, it's going to be a very beautiful day here on Malcasari, Malcolm Island. And my brother's just up there. He's going to start a fire on the beach here. And we are going to start throwing some of the debris from up above on top of it to just get rid of it. And this is looking down Cleaver Road from my uncle's place, looking towards Sointala. And this is a giant, I think it's a trembling aspen, but it's very old and it's very tall, just outside my uncle's place on Cleaver Road. And the trunk is enormous. And this is looking down Cleaver Road from my uncle's place towards Maynell Point. You can see the smoke from our fire on the beach as we're going to keep adding stuff to it and clear this spot off so we can bring up the boats. Here's just a before shot from Cleaver Road looking down where we're going to pull up the boats. And I'm going to get rid of all this so it's open. And my uncle's property here along Cleaver Road is one of the older properties on Malcolm Island, and we actually own the beach side, so we could do what we want on the beach side because we own it. And as the tide's going out, you could see more of the area that was pushed off the side a long time ago down below there where the boats were once pulled up. That's where they're going to be pulled up here pretty soon. So as I'm clearing here, I'm finding like red huckleberry and stuff, and I'm trying to pull them up by the roots and hopefully get some with enough root that they'll survive, and I'll transplant them at home because we make a jam and jelly out of these. There was a big hole here. Maybe there was a fence post here at one time. I put a stick in it so we don't land our feet in there. And I pulled up a big pile of red huckleberry here that I'm going to try and transplant. Some of them I know will survive because I got enough root. And this is what it's looking at down towards the beach. It's getting cleared up. It's my brother hauling the stuff that we just clipped. And you can see down below now as the tide's going out, you can see the opening in the rocks down there. Like I said before, that's where the boats are going to be pulled up and where boats have been pulled up in the past. And we got a little beach bonfire going here, getting rid of all the bushes and branches and stuff. And it is now low tide, so you can see down below there where all the rocks have been parted years ago. That's where the boats are going to be brought up. And I'll also mention here off in the distance on Vancouver Island over there, in that stretch there, kind of looks cloudy. That's actually the rain coming down. We live in a coastal rainforest. So that's what it looks like when it's raining off in the distance and the clouds are spilling out over here. There's no rain. And this is an old buoy of some sort that was brought up years and years ago, and it was covered in all the vegetation, and it's just being uncovered now. All right, we're just gonna haul this buoy up into the yard, where hopefully no one's going to take it. So my brother's just going to hook it up to the back end of his truck. And he's going to give it a pull and pull it across the road.
Out of mine.
And we're approaching the end of the day. It only took about a day to clear this area out, but this is where the boats will be pulled here pretty soon. I know I keep saying that, but it is what's going to be happening here. That's my mom just down there. So there's a bit of a breeze happening. My brother just said the tide must be changing because the wind's picking up, and sure enough, yeah, the tide is coming in. A little bit of a wind squall coming through, just suddenly picked up out of nowhere. And this is how much the weather could change. It's only been a few minutes and the wind's shifted again. As you can see, it's calm here, but you could hear the wind blowing off in the distance, just blowing over us. All right, that's all we're going to be doing here today. So check back in the future and you'll see updates as we go along with this project. The next videos upcoming, we're going to be pulling up the boats. So look forward to that in the future. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to follow along. And I'll see you all in the next video. All right, ciao.